A pleasant good morning to everyone and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Glad you can join me on today's show. Guest menu looks like this. He's the women's basketball coach at Southern University, Coach Carlos Funches, another famous Carlos. Boy, I tell you, they're all over this world. He'll join me at about 10:15 to give us an outlook on the 2019-2020 edition of your defending regular season and tournament champions in basketball, Coach Carlos Funches. Then the regular guests join me in hour number 2. Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network will join me live from Montgomery, Alabama. A huge matchup. Alabama State and Alcorn State in a 2 p.m. matchup. He'll give us the latest on that and what else that's going on in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Then at 11:30, HBCU Game Day, Brandon B.J. Jones joins me at 11:30. Now, the goal is to get to him right at 11:30 this week, but he'll join me live on the Carlos Brown Show. Here's what's trending, or we can say news and notes. Unless you've been on another planet or out of the blue, LSU and Southern, a proposed football game in 2022. I'll give you my thoughts on that proposed game. The Wanye, and maybe I'm going to butcher it on purpose, Tucker, the newest social media sensation. You may ask, who is this? It's the young man who says, we win in the West. Southern, you're next.
Hold on. Good morning, sir. That's not what he said.
Okay.
That's not what he said.
What did he say?
He said, we're representing the West.
Well, that's what he meant. But anyway.
Carry on. Good morning, by the way, too.
Good morning to you, sir. Southern's next. As the famous wrestler Rocky Johnson said, just bring it. We'll see in 2 weeks. Well, less than 2 weeks now. Howard University is investigating their football coach, Ron Price, abuse and harassment. Boy, I tell you. Yeah, some people say they're not going to call him a prince. They'll use a few other adjectives that we won't be able to discuss on this show. But it's interesting what's going on at Howard University. I understand sometimes when you have a transitional coach coming on his first season, things can get hot and heavy, but boy, you didn't expect this. We'll see what will come about of this investigation by Coach Ron Price, abuse and harassment. That's what's trending, news and notes. And, of course, Southern University. Some people thought I was pretty tough on them, saying that they've underachieved, which at that point they have. Or they had. But they come back, they win their conference opener. They win their first game against an FCS opponent, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. 31-7. Some highlights of that game: Christopher Chaney, 107 yards on 12 carries. Calvin Lunkins finished with 11 tackles. Jordan Eastland recorded a career-high 8 tackles. Timothy Bedford, kind of almost 100% now from the injury, 83 yards on 9 receptions. And the secondary produced 3 takeaways, and Joe Davis, the defensive end, had 1 interception. And you may ask, what about Skelton? Finally completed a football game. 4 quarters, did not get pulled. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, 157 yards passing. And what I like what Southern did, first time they got the ball, they kind of got Skelton into a rhythm. And you remember last week I talked about scripting maybe 10 of the best plays. Well, he had a lot of outs, a lot of slants. When I say a lot, but some. and some screens. That was able to get him in a rhythm, and I thought he just played well. Now, he was back at home in Pine Bluff. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it as well. But I thought the offensive coordinator did a good job of getting him in a rhythm early on. An improved running game. We just talked about Christopher Chaney with 107 yards, and the offensive line, they just dominated. They really did. Devon Ben, almost 100 yards. The defensive front seven, they have a chance to be very good for Southern University. Run defense has improved. In the secondary, of course, with 3 takeaways. Now, that was last week. You got to continue to improve. If you're Southern University, you're not at the point where you can take a week off. Win the week. Up next, of course, Prairie View and them Panthers. Offensive juggernaut. Defense, well, I just simply put it this way. They really have to outscore their opponents. And no doubt about it, they could get in the end zone. They're very creative. They've got outstanding skill position players. They have a coach that is an offensive-minded coach. It should be a very, very exciting game. And I'll give you the the week early situation for Southern University. A lot of you have been reaching out to me on social media, text messages. The best defense is an offense, ball control, manage the game. They're going to get so many touches, but if you're going to be 3 and out, you're going to put yourself in a tough situation. So it'll be game week starting Monday. Both teams coming off an open date. Let the games begin. Dr. Prince, good morning again.
Good morning again, my friend. How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm doing fine. I'm just ready for this game to get started. But we got a week to before it becomes game day.
Isn't it
this
almost
time next week?
It's like almost like a playoff atmosphere. At least for me, it is. I don't know about anybody else. I've been having fun with this thing, man.
I see. I see. I had a lot of people just kind of, sending me messages saying, "What do you think about the whole situation?" I've seen in the past players, whether you want to say they called them out or they just excited. First of all, it's another big victory over Grambling State. So you're very emotional and excited.
Right.
I've seen in the past where it can backfire. Yeah. Many of you remember the time Southern University player called out the Northwestern State team. And it's a humbling experience when you turn over on their radio network and the guy goes something like this: "There's another touchdown for Northwestern State." Not bad for a team that's really bad that was called out, and they had a good laugh about it.
Do you really believe Dewanye Tucker called Jag Nation out? Do you really believe that?
It sounded like he did.
It sounded like he did when he says, and I quote, "Let's go. We're representing the West. Southern, you're next." That's calling Southern out. When you just
he would have been more consistent if he would have called out Grambling before the game.
How do we know he didn't call out Grambling before the game?
Now, I'm sure it would have surfaced if he.
Are you sure? Now, sources
in the age of social media, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it gets out quick. And trust me, the people that needed to hear it, they heard it. It was said. But at the end of the day, it's going to be settled on the field.
Absolutely.
And that's the bottom line. So that's why, I just said, not like I'm going to be out there on the field, but just bring it. But
we're going to be in a press box somewhere. Taking notes.
Yeah, I mean, if you back it up, no matter what we think, if you back it up, you're a bad guy.
If you got a guy, and here's what people have to understand. And I'm not making no excuses for it. I'm going to back him up 1,000%. But if football is an emotional game, this kid just set a single season or single game rushing record, 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 60 yards. You're on the field celebrating with your teammates. And I won't call out the alleged persons that videoed this and put it out there. There was a method behind it, but it is what it is. It's been said, it's been done, and we have to deal with it. But we're not going to back down, because you think they're not saying that, whether there's a camera there or not. You think they're preparing to lose? You think Southern's preparing to lose? So
I want them to beat the hell out of them.
Right. And so I find it very ironic and even comical to the degree. And you've heard me say this before. I love Jag Nation, but you guys can dish it out, but you sure can't take it.
Well, I mean, that's a big, broad statement. Because like I told you before the show, it's a diverse Jaguar Nation. And if a Southern player would have came out and said that, I still would have been like, let's just get it on the field. We can do all the talking. Speak softly, but carry a big stick. But now since the cat is out of the bag,
it's several cats out the bag.
Again, it goes down to on the field, and I would not. And someone asked me, well, how can they talk that way? Remember last year? No, stop right there. I could give a damn about last year. That's over with.
Mm-hmm.
That is over with. It is what it is. It's recorded in history. But that was last year. Look to this Saturday, and hopefully the game plan will be outstanding. Hopefully Southern will come out on top. Yeah.
And the same from this end. And the same from this end.
Yeah. And that's the way I think it's gonna end up going. Who wants the game the most? Who executes the most? Motion only goes so far, but you got to get out there and execute.
Absolutely.
And that's the bottom line. I see people are chiming in, and but I also got here's the list that says we can talk because we are proven.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Talk because they are not the top tier.
Well, okay, let's see, and that's the exact thing I'm talking about. And as a PV guy, I can be Southern. You hadn't won anything, so you can be quiet too. So I mean, it's one of those deals. Don't get all sensitive when somebody is standing in their ground and say, "Yeah, I'm a grown man. We're coming for Southern next. They're on our schedule next." It's not like they skipped over somebody and said, we can't wait to play Southern. Southern is next on the schedule.
So you think if he would have said that exact word, Southern's on the schedule next?
He said, Southern, you're next.
No, the exact word, Southern, you're on the schedule next.
Oh my goodness! So now we're going to be grammar experts. Southern, you're next. That's like you got ups. You got ups. I just beat. If you play basketball or whatever, Madden, whatever, who's next? Southern, you're next. That's how I see this. That's how I take it. And listen, as a survivor of the 0-88 era.
Oh boy, here we go with that.
Oh no,
that's so far ago. Most of the younger generation don't even remember.
They don't know it, and that's part of the problem. You have to understand that we always said whoever was next. Because we're going to break this streak off somebody. So you're the next one. So I think it's just something, and like I said, if you got to that point to where you have to reach that spectrum in life to use that for motivation, then go ahead.
See, I don't think it's motivation. If it was me, I'd be sitting back laughing. Hey, he said it. You can't take it back.
DeWanye Tucker ran for 17 yards the last time they faced Southern. And Southern got beat.
Last year.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying the last time they faced Southern beat the brakes off of Prairie View, 38-0 at home. And I say it this week, if there is no game that the Ghost is going to be ready for, this one is going to be it. He was embarrassed by the school that he has such adoration and respect for, and he is going to make amends. I guarantee you that there's going to be a different Panther program that shows up in Baton Rouge. And they can say what they want to say. Last year is last year, and we're not looking at last year. I'll be John Brown if they're not looking and remembering. Don't forget to remember what happened, because in my own humble opinion, Prairie View put so much energy at wanting to beat Grambling last year that after they did that, they were done for the season psychologically. We beat Grambling, we're ready. No, stay consistent, stay on the train. That's why Southern is next. We got to finish what we started. Now, remember, out of our little group, I think I was the only one that projected the Panthers to be at this position where they are right now. Hello?
Okay.
Oh,
I'm just saying okay.
You know.
I mean, it all sounds great, but the bottom line is, show up next Saturday.
They got to execute. Now, we talked about it before. What's absolutely crazy, when everybody think about Prairie View, offense, they're the number 2 offense in the conference. But number 8 defensively. That's concerning. They're giving up more points than they're scoring. So they're going to want it to be a foot race, a sprinter's race, instead of a marathon run.
Lister says, so does he want a cookie?
See, that's what I'm saying. I would like 3 of them, please. I would like 3 of them. And see, that's what I'm saying. See, you got to be able to take it back, though. You got to be able to take it back. Don't get, see, that's why I say
softly and carry a big stick.
But if you're gonna flap, be ready to receive flap. That's all I'm saying. That's what makes college football. That's what makes HBCU sports.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get all sensitive and get in your feelings when somebody has the gall to say, hey, we're not backing down. We're ready to ball just like y'all ready to ball. Guess what? You're next.
And guess what? Just bring it.
That's the bottom line.
That's all. I'm through with the talking. He said what he said. That's it. Just bring it. That's the bottom line. And I hope it's an electric crowd. I would hit anything that moves. And see, you need to come with a nasty attitude.
Yes, sir.
You know, again, emotions only go so far. But
right.
You got to come and execute.
Right.
And it should be an outstanding game. I'm very interested.
Hey, I had a Southern night.
I'll be there to see what happens.
I had a Southern night say, boy, y'all done fired up the wrong school. When they say it's going to be so many people at Mumford Stadium, it's going to look like Katrina evacuating all over again.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
Oh, man. But I love it, man. I love it.
On that note, I'm sure we'll come back to it. Going to have to take a time out. When we come back, we'll visit with, I'm sure he's patiently been waiting, Coach Carlos Funches. We're going to talk a little bit of basketball. Yeah, somebody says nobody but Alcorn. Yeah, Alcorn definitely can talk. They've done it. They've proven it. But we'll come back with Coach Funches, talk a little Southern University basketball. And you know what? He's a quiet-spoken guy. He could be very confident, but he knows that, hey, there's more work to be done. We'll hear from Coach Funches next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Him too.
Well, you know, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control over my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a 1-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Going to switch up a little bit here, talk some basketball with women's basketball coach at Southern University, Coach Carlos Funches. Coach, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you as well.
It is that time of the year. Women's basketball practices have started. Last season, you accomplished a lot. Regular season champs, tournament champs. How do you build on such a successful season last year?
Well, my philosophy has always been you just take one game at a time. I know that's an old cliche, but that's what we do. Try to take it one play at a time in practice and continue on to take it one game at a time once the season starts and just try to get better day by day.
Year 2 for you, Coach, but although last year was your first year as a head coach, you've been around the program for such a long time. After Coach Pugh's program didn't miss a beat, sir.
Well, I had the advantage of having a familiarity with the team, and I knew what our strengths were going to be coming back and what our weaknesses were going to be. So we just tried to build on our strengths and improve our weaknesses. And I had a great group of young ladies, a core group that had been together, that senior crew, for 4 years. And they came in as freshmen and played as freshmen. So they had a lot of games under their belt. So from a leadership standpoint, they did a great job. So from our style, offensive style philosophy, I thought we changed a few things to kind of help them out, and it worked out well for us.
We're visiting with Coach Carlos Funches, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Outlook for this year, Coach, a lot of success last year, of course. Returning players who you will depend on to make this upcoming season, great for you as well. Talk about some of the returning players.
Well, we have 2 seniors, Brittany Rose, who was she was a little up and down last year. She was a junior college player trying to adapt to the system, but I think she's going to have a breakout year. Jaden Towner, she's going to have a good year. She started about half of the games for us this past season. And, of course, the tournament MVP as a sophomore, Lyric Scott. I think she's going to have a really, really good year. All the ladies came in and worked extremely hard this summer. And all our freshmen, they played last year. They'll be sophomores, Kaylin Williams, Money McWayne. I think all those young ladies will take a step up.
Now, Coach, talk about the recruiting class. And her name escapes me, but it's a couple of players from Fort Lauderdale, Florida?
We do. We have Raven White.
That's it.
She's the daughter of Lorenzo White, former NFL player. He played about 10 years in the NFL. I mean, she's a post-presser for us. She's going to give us that physicality down on the block that we hadn't had in the past. And we have our teammate, Genovia Johnson. She's a dynamic small forward. She can play the guard position. She probably can play a little point guard after she gets some experience. And those two young ladies, I mean, they're going to be getting a lot of playing time, no doubt about it. They won the state championship down there in the largest class in the state of Florida. I mean, they are dynamic. We've had players from that school in the past. Most of the people remember Brianna Green, 13 all-conference player, and this past year we graduated Courtney Parsons, who also played point guard on a team down there at that same high school that was ranked number 2 in the country. So they finished second in the nation her senior year in high school. But we're going to have some kids to just have to step up. So, you know, you never know what's going to happen until you tip it up, and then you just have to build on that.
And Coach, when you have players like that come into the program that's had success, is it an easier transition for them, or do you teach them as if, hey, they got to come in, they got to work hard, and just be part of the team? You don't put a lot of pressure on them. They're being freshmen. Is that correct?
That's right. I mean, it's a learning curve. I don't care if you played at one of the top high school programs in the country. I mean, it's going to be a big learning curve coming in. Division I basketball is tough. And I tell freshmen all the time that a practice every day is probably going to be as tough as their toughest game, that they played in high school. I mean, it's a big transition. And we pushing them, to play and practice at a high level. And you're trying to do that on a daily basis. You can't take any time off. Playing time is going to be tight this year. So everybody's battling, everybody's competing. And, I mean, it's tough. It's tough, not just physically, but also mentally, trying to do stuff at a high level, full speed on a daily basis. That's extremely tough.
Just trying to improve every day in practice, visiting with Coach Carlos Sanchez, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Coach, you also have a couple of transfers. In one, I know I was reading about, I think transferred in from McNeese State and one from Baton Rouge Community College.
We do. We have a couple of transfers. Kaylin Davis came in last year. She was an all-Southland Conference player as a sophomore at McNeese State. So she did a year residency, they call it. She sat out last year, but she could practice. So that's a plus for her at that point guard position. And we also have Kayla Watson. I mean, she's a extremely athletic player. She's going to bring some defensive intensity to this team. And we also have Nakia Kinsey from Gulf Coast Community College. She did a wonderful job for them last year. They won the National Junior College Championship. So we have some experienced kids coming in from the junior college level that's going to hopefully help with the loss of those 4 seniors we had last year.
Wow. Molding this team and getting them ready for this upcoming season, I guess that's a good problem to have, Coach. It could be at the other spectrum when no one is thinking much of the opportunity and what this team is going to do. But after, the success you had last season, I guess it's a good challenge to have coming into this season.
It is, and I think we're probably going to have a little more athleticism. Well, I know we're going to have a little more athleticism than we did last year. I think we'll be extremely deep, but from an experience standpoint, we don't have that much experience coming back. When you lose 4 seniors, I mean, that's hard to replace. But I think that the young ladies are going to be up to the task and give us 100%, and hopefully we can continue to improve throughout the season.
Well, I pulled up the schedule for the 1920 season. You're on the road. Quite a bit, at Iowa State, Wichita State, at Nebraska, at Texas, at Rutgers. You go to the Bronx, New York, at Fordham, Oklahoma State. I guess they will prepare you for conference.
We are most definitely going to be battle tested. We only have 2 home games prior to conference starting, and we're going to play 9 road games consecutively. That's including our first 2 games of conference. So it's going to be tough. But a lot of times when you're playing on the road like that, it's almost like a team building exercise. You get a chance to spend a lot of time with your kids. They get a chance to spend a lot of time with each other. So hopefully we can establish some bonds and a lot of chemistry on these trips.
And then you open up the conference play traditionally at Texas Southern, at Prairie View, and then Grambling State at F.G. Clark Activity Center, and then Jackson State. So you're going to hit the ground running in conference as usual. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's those first 3 games are, they're always extremely tough, especially when you're opening up with a TSU and PD on the road, and then you come back home. But, Grambling's been extremely good these last few years, so, it doesn't get any easier. Right. And it seems that we've talked on this show a lot with the fans, and it just seems like, you got new coaches coming in the conference, but on the women's side, it has just been extremely tough, and you cannot take a night off in the conference. And no, you can't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I said, no, you can't. Alabama State, they had 3 freshmen that were really good, and they're going to be better this year. They started off really hot, but struggled a little bit down the stretch. And, of course, Jackson State. They're going to be good. Alabama A&M going to be much improved. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. You don't have any nights off, that's for sure. Yeah, you're right. We're visiting with Coach Carlos Funches, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Expectations, always high. Fans, sometimes their expectations may be unrealistic, but what would be, and this is before the season starts, what would be your expectations for this basketball team and program for this year? Well, we play to win a championship. That's year in and year out, regardless of who's going to be wearing that blue and gold. We strive to win a championship. We practice to be a championship team. We prepare film sessions off the court to be a championship team every year, and that's my expectation, to win a championship. It doesn't change because a few players change. We're going out to and hopefully can raise another trophy and win a championship again. Well, we're wishing the best for you. And hey, you didn't call out anybody. You just said expectations. That's your expectation to win it. Do you want to make a prediction of the Southern and Prairie View football game, or you rather not get into that? Oh yeah. I expect Coach Oderman and the crew to come out victorious. Coach Zuli is a friend of mine, and I wish him the best every game except when they play Southern University. Yeah, well, I think that's the feeling amongst most Jaguar Nation. But, Coach, we appreciate the time. Best of wishes. Good luck in this upcoming season, and looking forward to seeing you and your young ladies on the basketball court striving for another chance to have a championship. Thank you, sir. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. All right. And we're Carlos Funches, women's basketball coach at Southern University. Oh, yeah. Expectations. That was a very good answer, because sometimes expectations. Dr. Prince, did you not believe it was maybe disrespectful for Southern fans to say Atlanta or bust? Did you find that disrespectful?
I did find that disrespectful. I found that as you're disregarding everyone else, and all that mattered was Jag Nation. And in all respects, if you're not thinking that way, then something's wrong with you as a fan, something's wrong with you as a coach, something's wrong with you as a player. So when someone else takes the same stand, what's disrespectful is no one else matters. We are who we are, and we're going to do what we do. It's Atlanta or bust. Forget Grambling, forget Prairie View, forget Alcorn, forget Jackson State, forget everyone else in the SWAC. We are going to go to the Celebration Bowl, disregards whoever try to stand in our way.
See, I don't take it as that. It's your expectation, and that is your goal. That is your benchmark. And if you don't hit it, it's a bust. And then it's more talking about you. I don't think you disrespect anybody on your schedule, because I know the McNeese State game, my goodness, 5 turnovers. They lost that one.
Right.
Then the Memphis, let's just move on. You're playing up.
Right.
Then you're playing Edward Waters. Holy cow. Can't really gauge nothing off of that. And then you go to FAMU. And
that was the game. That was the game that I really, really I thought Southern was going to come through on that one. I really did.
Yeah, they took a lead late in the ball game, and then FAMU goes 97 yards. Then UAPV, you got a lot of people doubting. People calling out. I specifically called them out and said they were underachieved. And then they take care of business at UAPV. So they still have their goals in front of them. Would I, and I said Atlanta bus as well. Do I still feel that way? Yes, sir. Every year I expect a championship. That's just me. Call me loco.
Okay, and as I mentioned, there's nothing
I don't see anything disrespectful for that.
There's nothing wrong with you expecting that as a Jag Nation supporter. Just like it's nothing wrong with me as a PV Nation supporter to expect the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't think it was disrespectful if Prairie View said that.
Okay, so
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Hey, I would be like, hey, they're confident. They have a high goal. I applaud them for that.
Do you remember, it might have been 10 years ago now, I think it was a WNBA commercial, We Got Next? You remember that?
Not really.
Okay, but anyway, there was an ad campaign where they were introducing, it might have been longer than that, heck, I don't know. But they were saying, we got next, we're next. And anybody who's ever played any level of competition in sports, especially in the street world of sports, the thing is, you next. We're going to knock these guys out and you next. That's, now, like I said, we got another week to deal with that. But I don't see it being disrespectful, just like you don't see it being disrespectful to say Atlanta bus. Is it arrogant, pompous, or cocky to say that SWAC stands for Southern Wins Another Championship? I thought it was rather clever. But how cowboy-ish is that to be that way? And I'm referring to the Dallas Cowboys.
They had a big mouth, and they got something shoved in it. But anyway. No.
Thank you for the Saints. I understand.
Yeah, you got to back it up. Right. That's the thing.
And so it's all good, tongue-in-cheek banter between historic teams. And then I was listening, somebody said, we earn the right to say what we say. Well, if we go, as my grandmother would say, retch way back on the history tree, I mean, they hadn't been in large quantities of late, but we got a championship pedigree as well. So if we got a right to say what we need to say too. So I'm not backing down, and I'm going to stand behind my guy, Dewanye Tucker.
The newest sensation on Instagram, social media. I tell you what, and what he did against Grambling, he is to be applauded for that. There are other weapons on this team that you have to look at, and I think it will be an outstanding matchup next Saturday. And really, I hope the crowd is electric. Hopefully hopefully it'll remind me of some of those games when Steve McNair came on campus against Southern University. That was electric. Now, that was all corn.
Right. Well,
we're going to get fired up with them, but I think this game has the ingredients to have an electric atmosphere. But as someone just text me, hey, all the noise talking is good. Just got to put it on the field.
Yeah, you got to put it on the field. You got. I'm from Missouri, the Show Me State. You got to put your money where your mouth is. But I'm gonna tell you what I'm hoping for the outcome. Remember the young fella by the name of Jonta Abear, who grew up around the corner from Southern University.
Native.
That's right. He's a Louisiana native. Had outstanding career at Prairie View. Came back his senior year and just wrecked Mumford Stadium single-handedly. I'm hoping for another performance like that by Dwayne Tucker. He has a target on his back. There's no doubt about that. But he's always had a target on his back. Anytime you're the featured back of a high-powered offense and you're a featured weapon, he's had a target on his back since forever. He's 5'5", 5'6" on a great day. He's Mighty Mouse for a reason. Okay, and call it.
He's got a big pair of stones too.
Well, yeah. You know, you got to have a pair of stones if you're gonna tote the rock like he's toting it. You know, and so it's all good. Hopefully, it'll increase ticket sales. Hopefully, it'll increase fan support and fan enthusiasm, fan interest, support and increase talk show involvement like it's doing today. It's good for everything. Because we're not other conferences where we're bland and blah, 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 blah. It's about excitement. Go back to the press conference days when the coaches in a strategic way kind of sold tickets, if you would, with a little extra lip service. I mean, that's the way it was. That's what made the SWAC the SWAC.
And it's a big one. Some big games today in the conference we're going to talk about in hour number 2. And speaking of excitement, let me just give my official opinion on this LSU and Southern football game proposed for 2022.
Here we go.
And I'm just not feeling this game. I'm not for it. As I posted on social media on the Carlos Brown Show Facebook page, I think it should be more energy put forth on making the Pete Richardson Classic the best that it can be, with bringing in a outstanding opponent each and every year, and just make it an event and a game where it's the talk of the conference and the talk of Louisiana. On the football field, LSU will be favored, no doubt about it. LSU fans are not going to be excited about this. I know some LSU fans that they'll give away their tickets when they play a Northwestern State or like a Nickel State next year or a McNeese. Just put the energy and the effort, Coach Banks, into the Pete Richardson Classic. That's a better way to utilize that energy. And it would be a guarantee game. Reports say reportedly maybe 500 to 600,000. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And then I try to be consistent. You've heard me say I'm not for these games on a regular basis. I've said that when they played Georgia. You know, I just don't like them. That's just me. I don't know if I'm in the minority on this. And also, people say, well, what about the injury factor? Injuries can happen. Bless his heart, Devon Gales. That could have happened playing against Arkansas Pine Bluff. It was a freak accident, you know. So that's just kind of my take on it. A lot of you have talked about it. We got a listener saying, preach, until the players get the whole check to improve their program and future chances. So I guess that person is not for these type of games.
Might I ask you?
Is that Auburn? Go ahead, sir.
Might I ask you? Is it because of the predictability, or more than likely what's going to happen as a result of the game? Do you feel like it's just a wasted day, a glorified scrimmage? What is it that you're opposing to it about?
I've been consistent with these games. You're not going to win these games.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not. It's picking up a paycheck. Let's just be brutally honest.
So would it be better? Do you think it would be better, let's say, if LSU just made a significant contribution toward the Southern athletic program and they schedule someone else?
Why would they make a contribution?
Because that's basically what's happening when you play the game. You play a game that you don't feel like you're going to win. They're just really making a donation to your athletic program. So
that's an easy 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. ADs, it's just so easy for them to schedule these type of games then instead of just getting out and doing the real tough, hard work.
I understand that. So, but what I'm asking, here's what I'm asking. Like, for instance, if you got major, like LSU is a major university in Louisiana, and they've played every, mid-major or Division I, however you want to label the programs. Instead of playing these programs, if they make a donation each year rotating to those programs and just schedule someone else, do you feel that's better? Maybe not as much as $600,000. Maybe if they did $250,000 donations, because that's still a spit in the ocean for a program of that magnitude. The same with the Texas A&M or University of Texas, Baylor's for that matter. But I think you might have a better chance beating Baylor right now than you would UT or Texas A&M or an LSU. So do you oppose, just like Nickel State, they played Kansas last year, went in there and beat Kansas. Even though Kansas is a lower division, do you recommend not playing the tough Power 5 or the suspect Power 5s?
Don't like playing them at all, period. Power 5. ULM, the ULL, that's still going to be tough. You're FCS for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Be the best that you can be playing in FCS. Now, does that include playing in the playoffs? Well, that's not going to happen for Southern Grammar. You can play them in the regular season. Nothing good is going to come out of this except for a big check. But at what price? What price? No, I'm against it.
Okay.
I've been consistently against it. I'm against it. They can keep their donations. You make your own money.
Okay. Do you feel that way about basketball and baseball as well?
Now, different sports. You can play that, basketball and baseball. Football, that's going to be tough. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I've been an advocate of that as well, because I think you got a better dynamic impact from a basketball court, from a baseball diamond, even a softball diamond, of changing the atmosphere, if you could, by the David and Goliath syndrome, taking on those Power 5 schools in those sports. I'm with you on that. I know people are mesmerized about, whoa, you get a chance to play. It's historic. If college football were allowed to have an exhibition game in shortened time, maybe you could do something like that. Everyone's talking about, oh, wow, the tailgate is going to be off the chain. Mm-hmm. Even Banks mentions in the article about maybe the Food Channel coming there. You know what? That's fine and good. But at the end of the day, as my neighbor told me, look, Carl, let me just talk to you, man. It'll be like beating up on your little brother. There's no good coming out of this. I don't want to beat Southern up like that. And that's what it'll happen. No. Play in other sports, but leave football out of the equation. Now, some will come back and say, well, wait a minute. It's going to be good for the city. I'm not going to get into all the social issues that some people have a fear about or what could go bad. Play them in basketball, baseball, and let it be. I do not want to see a football game. I'm not interested in that. So will you not even show up?
No, I'm not going. I'm going to be honest. Nope, I'm not going.
Okay. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. So what if just by chance, the miracle does happen? Just say all the stars lined up and Jag Nation pull off the upset of upsets, although everybody at LSU would be fired or either executed, wouldn't you not want to be there to witness that?
You're asking me, or
I'm asking you or Jag Nation?
I can speak for myself. At the LSU football game, no. Nope.
Okay.
Not going to be there.
I hear you say you're not going to be there, but wouldn't you be kicking yourself if that miracle were to happen and you had the opportunity to witness that right in your own backyard and you didn't go?
What miracle? That Southern showed up?
That Southern pulled off the upset.
Oh, come on, Dr. Okay.
I'm just saying, we know the probabilities of that happening are slim and none, but there's always a probability.
Nah. Just me.
Okay.
Not interested. Nope. Now, fans out there, if you want to show your feelings about this, what do you think? Will you show up? And I'm sure it's argument to be made for both sides how you feel about it. But
now you realize I was just talking about the LSU. I'm not talking about travel across country, but I'm talking about you go. It's in Baton Rouge. You go there.
Nope.
Oh man,
not going.
You're a hard task.
I'm being difficult. I'm not going.
I understand because I do attend when Prairie View plays Texas A&M. I know more than likely what's going to happen, but the outside fighter in me is said maybe, and then you get a good couple of series, and then the reality starts sinking in, the depth chart starts sinking in. Yeah, it's what I thought it was going to be, but for that moment, you felt like, man, something special could happen here today.
I would have been more excited, and I wasn't around then. You know what's more historical to me? A man fed thousands of people with very little food.
Come on here.
That's more exciting to me.
Come on here, boy. 2 fish and 5 loaves. What you talking about?
No, that's a miracle.
Yes.
That is a miracle. Melissa says, nah, Carlos, I won't be there either. And I don't know.
Now don't get me wrong. I agree with the theory and the logic 1,000%, but I'm talking about out of convenience. I wouldn't go across state lines and I wouldn't go too far on the other side of the state, but that close proximity, I'm at least stick my head in, and if things are not going to be that special day, then I'm exit stage left.
Well, Alyssa just said, tell Dr. Prince Judgment Day has arrived if that happens. Let's see. Another listener says, I agree. I do not like those games. Well, we're not taking a scientific poll here, but just based on the feedback I'm getting.
It's lazy fundraising. That's basically what it is.
Well, it's always easy to make a guarantee game and get those big dollars across the sports. You see other teams in the conference, they'll play a lot of those quote unquote guarantee games to get money, but then also I guess to toughen themselves up so when they get to the conference they won't play a team as tough as the ones they face out of conference. But also remember, conference schools know you better than the non-conference team.
Oh, yes.
And they know every little secret and every little trick, excuse my French on that one. They know everything about you. So that's just my official
which is why they schedule games like Lynchburg and Edward Waters to kind of ease the tension on the program. Say, we got a tough schedule, man. We need to build our guys' confidence up, so they'll schedule a game like that. And that's the justification.
By the way, Virginia Lynchburg is at Valley
today.
Homecoming.
Yes.
Yeah. I always try to be consistent. I don't like those games either. Thus, my opening statement was about this game, put more emphasis and make that Pete Richardson Classic something to be really proud of, and not just a game and an event. You can do it the whole weekend activities. You can lay it out and you could bring in a Tennessee State. You could bring in maybe a FAMU, and from a cultural standpoint, it sets the mood as well.
Yes, sir.
So put that emphasis more on that. If the game will be played in 2022, and
well, I think Prairie View is playing Louisiana Tech. I think they announced it yesterday, day before yesterday, in 2020.
Oh wow! Another great trip to the dry parish in Ruston. Beautiful campus. They played Grambling. They played Southern. Now they're going to play Prairie View. And I'm sure they're going to request the band to be there.
More than likely. And some people have opinion about that. They say they just want us there for entertainment.
Well, Southern band did not go to Arkansas Pine Bluff. And, they mentioned it, but it wasn't a big uproar about it. But the band was mentioned in the article, and some writers gave their opinion about that. That's some of them. That's what they really want to see, the band. So, that's just the way, and that's why some of my other colleagues they came out very strong and said, "Nope, we're not going to be that. Nope, you want to come see the band? Come to a game at A.W. Mumford Stadium." So I'm strictly trying to keep it on the field. And another thing is, when you look at just the depth, of course, you're in the FCS. You saw Southern and Memphis this past year, down by 10 at the half, but that depth starts coming in.
Right.
And you saw what happened in the second half, only a defensive touchdown. I think less than 30 yards of total offense or something like that in the second half.
Yeah,
you know what you're up against. So no, from that historical aspect, I'd rather go to the motherland. That would be more historic to me. And hopefully one day I'll be able to get there before I leave this earth.
You and I both, brother. You and I both.
Yeah. So in the conference coming up, let's see what time we have. 10:56, 4 minutes. Alabama State and Alcorn, and some, and let me preface this by saying some, not all. I have a regular dialogue with Alcorn State fans. Appreciate them. I like the ones that feel that they're confident and cocky and they know it. Then you have some Alcorn State fans that, they're worried about everything. Well, Noah Johnson is not 100%. Wall is not 100%. But what Alcorn State has been able to do is adapt, evolve. Felix is throwing the ball all over the place. And remember, we talked about, you stop Alcorn State's run, they're not going to be able to pat. Kudos. Hats off to the coaching staff, Coach McNair, who's not appreciated sometimes a lot, but they've been able to get it done. And they play Alabama State today, a huge matchup. They're the defending champs for a reason. And until someone defeats them or dethrones them, it's going to be hard for me to bet against Alcorn State. They just get it done. Didn't you expect a kind of a drop-off from the outside looking in when Noah? But Felix brings another set of attributes.
You asking me, did I expect a drop-off?
Yeah, in general.
No, you know what? I really don't, and I'm going to tell you why. You just made mention. Fred McNair, to me, has been the most underappreciated, disrespected coach in the conference. To me.
There you go with that disrespected again, Dr. Prince. Oh, from who? From who? Alcorn State fans? Not from me.
Well, once again, we're from the outside looking in, okay? Mm-hmm. They strategically were plotting, doing underhanded stuff to try to get him and trip him up, but he's resilient. He knows who he is. He's comfortable in his own skin, and he does what he has to do. Now, what a lot of people are missing, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he is a salesman. He can sell Lorman, Mississippi to guys with a chip on their shoulder and said, look, we don't have a whole lot to offer you as far as this social life. But what I can guarantee you is this. You're going to get a quality education. You're going to play a good brand of football, and we're going to be competitive from day one. We need a guy like you to come and be a part of this program. What about it? What you see is what you get. And I think that's part of the problem with some of our coaches throughout the conference. They're trying to rechange and redirect the culture instead of understanding the culture that you've inherited and adjust your coaching style to that. And that's exactly what he's done.
Well, a listener, I'm going to read this before the end of the hour. This listener says North Carolina A&T is the blueprint. They rarely play the monster Power 5 teams, and when they do, it's always in state like Duke or North Carolina. Well, they played Duke and got it handed to them this year. Other than that, it's always winnable games. So, back to my point, the group of five, they call them, and then even like your ULMs, you see Southern Miss, Alcorn plays Southern Miss, Mississippi State. Alcorn's playing Auburn, and we'll ask Charles Edmond about that game, get his take on, even though that's next year, how the fans are feeling about that, unless someone will let us know shortly. You can always have those type of games, you could play Rice, but it's not going to give you that big paycheck like you would playing a Power 5. So, it's a good point.
But as you mentioned, though, see, and I've been on that for a long time. I did a show a few months ago on some FBS opponents that would give you the money that you seek, would also give you a better chance of winning. And they were in the Texas, Louisiana region that you could go and have a real successful run on building your program and the reputation throughout the state. And I think now is when you start planting those seeds as you're getting into your master schedule that's being presented by the conference, and you can start scheduling out 2024, 2026 seasons ahead with, in Prairie View's case, a UTEP, with a UTSA, or, and things of that nature. These are programs that you use as gauges, but you can beat them. I personally think that on the right lineup, I'd like to see Prairie View play Texas Tech. People say I'm crazy. I like to see Prairie View play Kansas. People say I'm crazy, but I think those could be doable games with the right lineups.
Well, you've got to bring your A game, even if you, if you're playing against one of those teams, you've got to bring your A game. You've got to really want to try to really win the game. And it's just not, for a check.
That's what I'm saying. So you can't, it's not a vacation. Hey guys, we get to go to XYZ, pack light, you know what I'm saying? No, I want to play and put my guys in a position of winning. I want to build their confidence, and I want to create some job security and some earmarks to where I can go and possibly ask for a little bit more coin. Well, we went and beat Texas Tech at Texas Tech. I think I deserve a little extra bump up. What do you think? Because when you go and get shellacked by Texas Tech and then you beat up on Edward Water, and I'm not trying to abuse and disrespect Edward Water, but, it is what it is at this point. You can't feel good about that. I'll refer to what your listener said a little while. Do you want a cookie for that?
Nope. And another quick thing, these non-conference games, let's try to be more successful in those games. And kudos to the teams that are playing members in the Southland. I know some fans could care less if they play those type of teams, but you've got to win your conference. That's a given. But let's do better in the non-conference games.
Do you know why that Southland Conference? You know why winning those games are so paramount and important to the SWAC as a whole? Because that is the conference that you're compared to. they're a notch either above or below us, and the degree of separation is how you deal with each other head to head. And like you stated, I think the answer is we don't put enough emphasis on special teams when we play those type of games because, like I said, pound for pound, on the offense, defensive side, we can go with them. But we always find a way to flounder these games. I don't care who it is representing our conference in turnovers and special teams.
Well, still got another, but we're past due for a break here. What are y'all smoking on, SWAC? Can't compete with the Texas Tech. Stop it. Even with a A+ team. Okay. Guess that was referred to you.
Oh, well, I understand that. That's why I said people might think I'm crazy. But I would rather compete in, number one, it's in state. Number two, it would give
Let's beat McNeese. They're undefeated against the SWAC.
14-0.
Let's start there. Beating McNeese, Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, those type of teams. You don't agree?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I just said that. That's why it's so paramount that if you're going to focus and put your emphasis, like you say, let's get those teams. But I said those doable games in your region, in your Louisiana region, in the Texas region, in the Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi region, there are programs within those areas that could give you a good challenge, a decent payday, and a good possible win.
I'm still trying to get them to improve this Pete Richardson Classic. That's my goal. Get it done. Make it an event. And the game breaks out during that event. That's what I want. LSU and Southern. It should be interesting in 2022. Going to take a top of the hour break. Coming up next, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. And I'm sure he's going to be jumping up and dancing. He's going to be at Baton Rouge when that game is being played. He loves it. He'll be happy. He's coming up next, followed by Brandon B.J. Jones, HBCU Game Day. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Each team starts their journey on separate roads, but they all converge to one road to the championship. There will be revenge and redemption. There'll be an Aggie and Eagle standoff. There'll be Bulldogs and Bears colliding with Tigers and Spartans. Hornets fighting off Bison and Wildcats rattling the Rattlers. The road has twists and turns. And when it ends, one thing is certain. Only one team will claim the title. MEAC champion.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a 1-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Our regular segment, the SWAC Football Report, we get the perspective from Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning from Montgomery. How you guys doing?
Well, I'm doing fine. A lot of stuff to talk about on today's show, a lot of information that we've talked about, and we've given our opinion. So we'll get the opinion from you on a couple of topics right quick, and then we'll kind of get into the report. LSU and Southern football game. I'm sure you will be there come hell or high water. You know you're going to be there.
Yes, I will. I've been talking about it in a joking fashion for probably the last 10 years. I'm like, will Southern ever play LSU? It just makes sense in a way. You got two schools right there in Baton Rouge, although I think 10 years ago it might have made sense. But I understand, in all seriousness, I understand the disgruntled nature of a lot of people when it comes to a game like this. Southern played Georgia a few years ago. They got, $700,000 for that. And they're going to play LSU in 2022. Based on what we were hearing, and it looks like it's nowhere going to be close to what Georgia's paying, which I think is disappointing for me from a monetary standpoint, although it's not always about the money. I mean, LSU could, with a game like that, school in town, you ought to be able to pay more than $700,000. But I'm not Roman Banks. I'm not the Southern Board. I don't do the negotiations. So just my opinion from afar, I think it should be a lot more than that. I would say 8 plus, maybe 9. But nonetheless, I understand why this is happening. Obviously, it's a good payday for LSU in a sense. Your fans are there. You're right there in town. And, there probably was some conversations. And as Roman Banks said it, this week, this has been going on for weeks, if not months, trying to get this thing lined up. So, I really don't agree with it. If you just wanted to sit down and have a serious and brutal conversation, I do think a game like that, if you go back to the Southern Georgia game, Von Gales got hurt in a game like that. LSU, you don't know where they're going to be in 2022. You don't know where Southern's going to be in terms of talent. You assume LSU is going to be probably ranked in the top 10, somewhere in there. Southern will probably be, better than they are now. But a game like this, it's a tough mismatch. And you just have to you have to grin and bear it and eat and bear it, because at the end of the day, if they're cutting you a check of $400,000 or $500,000, do you take that, or do you pack your stadium? You pack Mumford. And the commissioners even talked about this, Dr. McClellan. If we pack our stadiums and do our part, then you won't have to play as many of those games a year that some of our teams are playing. I think Southern played a couple. We play one. We got Auburn next year. If we do our part, then you don't have to do all of that. So I say it jokingly, but in a serious nature, in a serious tone. Should we be playing in LSU or in Alabama? Probably not.
No.
But if they're going to cut you a $500,000 check, which I do think it's on the low end of the totem pole for a game like if Alabama's going to pay USM $1.8 million, then I would think that an SEC school ought to be able, even though it's an FCS opponent, ought to be able to pay an FCS opponent $800,000-$900,000. I don't think that's much to ask for a program like Auburn and Alabama. Just my opinion. I might be on the wrong end of the scale on this one, but in all seriousness, should it happen on the field? No. Financially, should it happen and you're getting $400,000? Yeah, you're going to take that most of the time. It's not all the time.
I actually would love it. As I was listening to you talking, I would love to see Southern go to LSU and play a 3-game baseball series. That is a much more winnable situation. And then, as I stated in hour number one, basketball, men and women, you could play. It'll still be a tough situation, but it's a little bit more manageable. And maybe they could have an agreement to play. They played in tennis before, and maybe volleyball. Different, everything except football.
Yeah, and football. Yeah, and you're exactly right on that. I mean, look, Southern beat LSU in baseball, and that game was at Heinz Field. And so the playing field in the other sports is a little bit more level than it is in football. You got 85 scholarships to 63, and you can't discount that right off the bat. I mean, you could have the best team in the FCS, and we've seen this happen where North Dakota State might be at Kansas State or something like. You have those oddities. Appalachian State beats Michigan. I mean, but that happens maybe once or twice a decade. But at our level, for what we're talking about, can you see a SWAC team playing an FCS opponent? Now, we darn near beat USM a few years ago. Alabama State should have beat UAB. So there are some instances that you could name, but they're few and far between. Is it worth the paycheck? And I think the bottom line is, from a coach's perspective, they have to grin and bear it because that's what's on their schedule. But I think from a reality standpoint, unless you get a lower tier FCS versus a SWAC team, like we talked about UAB, maybe even a USM that's trying to move up in the FBS food chain, playing LSU, I mean, LSU might be the number one team in the country by the time Southern plays over there. Then what are people going to say? That's 3 years out. You just don't know how it's going to go.
Well, you let me know how it turns out, because I won't be there.
You're going to watch it on TV, though, right?
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll be a monk by then and in Thailand on a hunger strike. Saving the planet. I don't know. You never know what life holds for you in the future. But go Jags. Well, speaking of that, in the conference, as I'm trying to pull it up here, Charles, they got some big games this week, but I want to go over last week's games because there were some interesting games that were played last week, and I'm trying to pull up everything, and my computer's acting slow here. But one big disappointing loss was Jackson State losing to Kentucky State, and they threw one pass, I believe, and they run the old-fashioned wing tee. Charles, not good at all. Not good at all. What do you think about that game?
Well, I'll share a sidebar story before I get into the nuts and bolts of it. I bowl in 2 bowling leagues during the week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I get to the bowling alley Tuesday night, and one of the guys I bowl with pulls me over and says, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And he had a very confusing look on his face. I'm like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" "Hey, I'm in a football pool every week, and Jackson State blew my pool. How in the world did they lose to Kentucky State? No way. What in the..." Of course, he had a bunch of what's after that, but
I understand.
This is a family program. I'm not going to say it. He was, as my wife likes to say, he was busted and disgusted. And I have to say that I was disgusted as well. When I saw that after Jackson jumped out and then they lose the game, I mean, it's obviously it's hugely disappointed. We pull for SWAC teams when we play out of conference. And, of course, I was pulling for Jackson State. I know what the Circle City's about. I've been there. We've been there 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tight schedule. How you get in there, you fly in, you're a part of the parade and all that. But, no one, I don't think anyone thought that, other than Kentucky State fans, that Jackson State was going to lose that game. I mean, they scored 49 against Tennessee State and can't get their offense going other than the early part of the game, and they fizzle. They fizzle throughout the game, kind of get something going late, but it's too late. That's really disappointing, and that's one that's probably going to resonate with a lot of folks for a while, unless Jackson State turns it around here quickly, which they could against Grambling today. So, truly disappointing. It's disappointing to say the least, and you just wonder, did the program take a step back? When you thought that they were maybe taking a step forward after coming off a bye week, by the way.
Yeah, so I was about to say a bye week.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think all the intangibles pointed towards Jackson State, but they just didn't get it done. A bad loss, to say the least.
Well, I'm going to be a bit facetious here. One of my colleagues had a rant about Southern fans are on the ledge. It's going to be all right. This is before the UAPB game. I wonder if Jackson State fans did they jump off the ledge? Because that that I don't know if it's as bad as Southern losing to Arkansas Monticello or NAIA student, but I thought about that. JSU fans, I can feel your pain. Trust me, and I think you should. They should call them out. They should, and all this soft, tender, loving care. No, call it behinds out. It was a bad loss, and let's see going forward. This could be a turning point that they can move forward and get better, or you're going to let that game define your season. I don't think it will. I think they're going to remember this and go forward. But I could be wrong. But I must give you kudos, Charles. You said UAPB. You thought the moment was too big for them. Southern comes out and defeats UAPB 31-7. Alabama A&M, wow, 63-20 over Central State. Alabama A&M, like Prairie View, an offensive juggernaut. Alcorn State over Valley 45-19. Although Valley hung tough for a while, I got a chance to listen to some of that broadcast. Of course, we just talked about Kentucky State over Jackson State 33-25. Houston Baptist in another basketball score again, all over Texas Southern 68-31. One thing I can say from the outside looking in, Texas Southern can score points. They just can't stop anybody. Goodness. And of course, Prairie View A&M over Grambling State 42-36. Big game for Mr. Tucker. I'm going to call him Mr. Tucker, the new social media sensation. Give him the MVP right now. He's just that darn good. So, Prairie View over Grambling State, Houston Baptist over Texas Southern, Kentucky State over Jackson State, Alcorn over Valley, Alabama A&M over Central State, and Southern over UAPB. Charles, anything else you'd like to say about last week's results?
I'm wondering about my alma mater, Grambling, right now. I predicted Grambling would win the game. I thought maybe, considering what Grambling only giving up 20 points against Louisiana Tech, I thought their defense was a little ahead of their offense. And their offense is still a work in progress. I just didn't think that their defense would be as porous as they were. But I think you also have to give credit to Prairie View, and they're just that good offensively. I don't think there's anyone other than maybe Alcorn and Southern that can keep up with the Panthers point for point. And that's going to be an interesting game when Southern and Prairie View play. But Grambling, obviously, I think for me, Coach Fobbs is trying to make it work, but they just don't have the playmakers that they once had. And I think clearly a game like that shows, you don't have the Carters and the Kincaids and the Chad Williams of the world. You don't have those. And their defense obviously sprung a big leak. But Prairie View's offense is just that good too. So you have to step back on that a little bit. But it's kind of disappointing to see, second year in a row, Prairie View beating Grambling. And, Grambling's behind the eight ball. They can't afford another loss. Although, albeit they're not out of it, they can't afford a third loss. I think this game with Jackson doesn't count in the standings. And that's a whole other conversation that, we can have for another time when you talk about those type of games. But, Grambling, I think, has a lot of work to do. And I think Coach Fobbs, I know Grambling Tiger Nation is not happy right now, but they just have to rally around that team and just hope at some point they turn it around and put it all together in all phases. Alabama A&M, go figure. I mean, I said it last week. I'll say it again today. Go figure. You don't know which A&M team's going to show up. I mean, I had no idea that they would do what they did last week down in Mobile. That obviously, that's another head scratcher. You don't know which A&M team's going to show up. And they showed up and showed out last week. The Southern game, I said this, and it turned out to be, true. I think that the game from UAPB's perspective may have been a little bit too big for them right now. Southern came to play. I think they had, almost 300 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. They had a big game running the football.
A little south of that, but.
Yeah. But I think, like we talked about last week, that's Southern football right now. They've got to be able to run the football to settle Skelton down. They have to. if they can't run the football and put it all on Skelton to make plays, it's probably going to be a tough day offensively. So Southern able to run the football a little bit, settle down Skelton playing at home. I wasn't surprised. I think UAPB not quite ready for prime time. I love Cedric Thomas. He's going to do a good job there, but I think that game just a little bit, too big for the Lions at this point in time. So
a little bit too much, Charles.
A little bit too much, yeah. I mean, you can just kind of smell it. You can smell a game like that coming. And look, UAPB is going to be fine. I mean, they're going to be just fine. But in that moment, in this time, I just think Southern is just a better team right now.
Well, I call them underachievers to that point, and they responded in a big way. Not to me, but they responded to themselves to come out, get their first FCS win of the season, the conference, and then they build toward next week, which should be an outstanding game against Prairie View A&M at A.W. Mumford Stadium. Today's schedule looks like this: Texas Southern at Alabama A&M. Wow. Well, the biggest question is not who wins, but what's the total of points going to be scored today? They both can put up some offensive numbers. I wonder which defense will step it up today. Alcorn State at Alabama State. Not a surprise, the game of the week in the conference. Grambling State at Jackson State. One Tiger will win. Which Tiger will it be? Virginia Lynchburg at Mississippi Valley State, and Lane at UAPB. Alcorn State and Alabama State. Charles, Alcorn State, some fans that I talked to, they're kind of concerned about this game. What's the latest on Noah Johnson and Waller?
Waller will play today. My guess, with a couple hours to kick off, that Felix Harper will get the start. Mm-hmm. And Noah Johnson will continue to be on the mend. And right now, Felix Harper has the hot hand. And I think at this point, you go with the hot hand at quarterback. They call him the anointed one, the golden child, whatever you want to call him. But Felix Harper gets the football down. Yeah, I'm reading that on social media. Those are the kind of the phrases that people are coming up with what Felix Harper has done. Just think about what he's done, Carlos. In the last 9 quarters, Felix Harper has led the Braves to 104 points, 45 against Prairie View, 45 against Valley, and then 14 in the fourth quarter against McNeese. And despite the fact the running game has been okay, Waller's been banged up. We've had a couple of running backs out. But what Felix Harper's doing right now is something special. And we're going to need that again today, although I do think it'll be more of a lower scoring game. I think if the Braves score 45, they'll blow the doors off this one. But if Bama State slows it down to a slog like they did last year, play keep away. I've said that because that's kind of what the Hornets do. They're going to probably be no huddle all game long to keep you from substituting. They want to slow this game down into the 20s. And, of course, we had a 6 overtime game with them last year, and our kicker missed 6 field goals. And we should have won that game going away, but it was a tough day for McCullough. But nonetheless, Alabama State, this is the biggest home game, division game that they've had in some time. If you just think about it, at this point in the season. If Braves win this game, they control the East. If they don't, then the East is wide open. It brings Jackson into the mix, even though they haven't played a conference game. Obviously, the Hornets will have a tiebreaker on Alcorn. It puts A&M in the mix. So this is a huge game for Alcorn. They can get a stranglehold on the Eastern Division with a win today.
Felix Harper, co-offensive player of the week, threw for a career-high 396 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Prairie View A&M, DeWanna Tucker, Sotero, Texas, a historic night. Single-game record in rushing for 263 yards. Defensive player of the week, Calvin Lunkins, linebacker from New Orleans, Louisiana, 11 tackles and 1 sack. Specialist, Corey McCollum. Is that how you pronounce it?
Corey McCullough.
McCullough. Okay, I'm from South Louisiana. Forgive me. Alcorn State place kicker tallied 9 points for Alcorn. It's 45-19 victory over Mississippi Valley State. And then newcomer Texas Southern Donnie Corley. He had an impressive game. 12 receptions for 198 receiving yards. Hats off to these players for the SWAC Players of the Week. Man, you know what? Texas Southern can score points. Prairie View A&M can score points. Alabama A&M can score points, Charles. Whichever defense, I believe, still. Excuse me?
The Alcorn can score points.
Well, that's a given, yeah.
Southern can score points.
Well, but they're not scoring at the rate that the other teams are. But I'm more concerned with which team will step up defensively, because I was kind of looking at the stats. Man, I know Prairie View will always make your defensive stats, kind of go up after you play them. But I still think defense wins championships. And we'll see which defense will be the most consistent from here on out in conference play. Guess call me old-fashioned on that one. It's great to score points and go up and down the field. But if your offense has an off game, can you rely on your defense to get it done? And your special teams?
Well, that's going to be one of the keys to this game here, Carlos, special teams. The Hornets are pretty good, especially kickoff returns. And we haven't been getting a lot of punt and kickoff returns ourselves. We're just fair catching, and we're doing other things on special teams. We haven't had a real big run on special teams on punt and kickoff returns all season. Bama State's going to try to push the envelope and try to flip the field on special teams. So that's another factor, as far as this game is concerned. I do think as the season wears down and as teams continue to scout you, I do think that that offensively you're not going to see quite as many points as we roll forward. They say offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. That is true. I mean, Celebration Bowl proved that. Special teams that decided that Celebration Bowl. So I do think as we roll along here, I think the teams that are poorest defensively, I think even Prairie View will probably be improved defensively before it's all said and done, because they duly knows that he cannot win the West continuing to outscore people, because teams are scheming them and trying to slow them down just enough. So I think at some point defensively, you got to get off the field. And right now that's been a struggle for Grambling. It's been a struggle for Prairie View. And even though Southern much improved, taking on a Pine Bluff team last week that had been averaging over 30 points a game the last 3 games, Southern, that could be their calling card. Running the football offensively and their defense for Southern University. We'll see. But I agree with you. I don't think this trend can continue. If whoever's going to win the SWAC championship, it's going to be because of their defense more so than outscoring people.
Mm-hmm. And I like, in our closing, I like what the offensive coaches did for Skelton. They gave him some good throws, slants, some screens, and it got him in a rhythm. And then, of course, the running game. And you could see the difference. He threw for 157 yards. I still think there's improvement to be done with that. Run the football. The offensive line they were dominant. But as you move up in the upper echelon of the conference, I still say Southern's going to have to get more production throwing the football, because I don't think you'll be able to run all the time. If they get that much yardage the rest of the conference games against their opponents, then look out. Cry me a river. But there's improvement that can be had by every team in the conference as they go deeper into conference play. Charles, have a great broadcast today. I'll be tuning in. Alcorn State at Alabama State, the game of the week in the conference. So it should be a good one.
I think it'll be the game of the year if you talk about the first half of the season. I mean, this is a huge swing game in the East, and the Hornets are ready. They're all They were off last week. Should be a lot of fun, and I'm buckled up, ready to go.
I can tell. Off week, sometimes that could be good, but sometimes that could be deadly. But you should be better. You've had 2 weeks to prepare. Should be a good one. I still think Alcorn will take care of business, but we shall see. We'll talk about it next week, the results of this game. Have a great broadcast. Have a great weekend. Talk to you next week.
All right, Carlos. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. That was Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Take a quick time out. When I come back, it's Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. We'll get his thoughts, and then I've got something I need to read, and I'll do it right quick. Whether you agree or disagree, I'll try to always read your comments. This listener says, would y'all please stop talking about whether the game with LSU and Southern is winnable for Southern or not? That is not, and not is capitalized, the point. In order for the aftermath and the long-term repercussions for Southern University as a university, the payout would have to be north of $900,000, and even that is not worth it. All money is not good money. It won't be north of $900,000. They're not going to offer that. And I'm just against the game. I don't have to rehash that. I've given my reasons, but I appreciate you listening, and point taken. Take a time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
If you could do one thing to make an impact on the things that matter to your family, your community, and your country, wouldn't you do it? That's what voting is all about. An easy way to make a difference. Register, learn about the issues and candidates, and vote this November. Your vote helps shape the future of America. Visit www.vote411.org to get started. This is a public service announcement from Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Welcome back to this final segment of this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Final guest of today's show, our regular conversation with Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day on the road again. B.J., good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Carlos. How's it going?
Well, I'm doing fine. I'm getting through another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, and I'm looking forward to getting your perspective on black college football, Southern, Alcorn, all of that. Get your thoughts on LSU and Southern. That's kind of been a hot topic, or, well, one of the hot topics, and then we'll take it from there. But your perspective.
I look at it from the standpoint of why not? I feel like, you get a chance to, finally, play that game. It's minimal expenses, so you don't really have to worry about travel. So that payout is going to mean a little bit more because, you're not traveling this much. So it's almost like, financially, almost like having another home game. But, if that's what, the direction that Roman Banks wants to go and, play LSU, I'm cool with it. I prefer not to have any of those money games if we can avoid it. But if you just have to, go ahead. I'm like, let's go ahead and do it if we're going to do it.
Well, it's going to happen, quote unquote, whether we agree and disagree on whether the game should be played. I've been getting a lot of feedback, for the most part, on people's thoughts about the game. So I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on that. And now I'll turn quickly to Southern last week against UAPB. Were you surprised that Southern won, or about how much they won by?
I was surprised in the fashion, the way that Southern took care of business with Arkansas Pine Bluff. I thought you saw changes in the secondary, which were pleasant changes. Offensively, the offense looked a little bit more fluid. Still some things to work on, but you saw this football team improve, which I don't think that that's something that you could say outside of the Memphis game. Even with the Edward Porter's game, defensively, Southern was solid, but offensively it was still kind of shaky, still kind of chippy. But last week you saw the football team improve. They just hope that they can build upon that as we start getting to the meat of the conference schedule.
Yeah, I understand. Question: do you think the play calling was conducive for Skelton, where it got him into a rhythm? Some of the things that they were doing, I was watching a replay of the game, and it seemed that the play calling got Skelton. He was able to, throw some outs, some slants, and it seemed to get him in a rhythm.
Yes. You saw Skelton kind of looking down instead of trying to look for the bomb on every play. So I think the play calling as well as his execution. But a lot of times we want to put everything on the play calling, but the offense coordinator, defense coordinator can make the perfect call. Execution can make a bad play call look pretty good. So I think you have to give Ladarius Skelton some credit on his execution. His getting the ball out of his hands, either make a decision to get the ball out of his hands quickly or to create some space where he's able to run. So I think his execution has also improved, which also might lead maybe a result of the improved play calling.
Yeah, going forward, you hopefully this is kind of a recipe where they're able to do this. And of course, the offensive line, they had a dominating performance, and that led to an increased running production. So with that being said, hopefully they'll just kind of improve, and they'll get a big test next week. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that next week with Purview and them coming to town with their offensive skill set.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. I think you want to be hitting your stride right about that. This is where you want to be hitting it. That's where they hit it last year. You want to be hitting it right about now. So great test coming up next week at Southern University Chapel.
Now, Brandon, I don't think the big game of the week in the conference. Charles just mentioned it as so far maybe the game of the year in the Eastern Division. It's a game that you're going to be in attendance at Alabama State and Alcorn State. Am I just being overly cocky and just saying I think Alcorn will win it? But is there a strong possibility that Alabama State they have a chance against Alcorn State?
I said I like Alabama. I like Alcorn State by 10 plus. I think Alabama State can do some things to get for a while. The head coach either kick out about Oh, man. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Wait a minute, Brandon, you're breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me a little bit better?
Yeah, continue, let's see.
All right. Well, Coach, talked about how this is a big game for Alabama State, and they'll have the fans into it. But I think when it's all said and done, I think Alcorn pulls away, and I think you'll see Alcorn win this game by maybe 2 scores or maybe even more. So I like Alcorn.
And Felix Harper, my goodness, Airborne, Georgia, 396, 6 touchdown passes. I've been impressed by how that they've been able to evolve offensively with Noah Johnson going down. Now this team can really consistently throw the football all over the field.
We talked about this earlier, Carlos, when we had Skilton going into the football game as well as Bubba McDaniel. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you actually have a good problem. Because, the health of the quarterback is critical, but what confidence it gives you when you have a player like Felix Harper backing up Noah Johnson. And Felix Harper, make no mistakes about it, he's not managing the game. He's going out and he's winning it. So, man, that's a great problem. And it has opened up the Alcorn offense. Chris Blair and that receiving core, man, they're able to get numbers now, numbers that they weren't able to get when Noah Johnson was the quarterback.
Well, they've done a great job. They really have adjusting, and I wonder, will this continue? And I don't think it's a quarterback controversy. When Noah Johnson gets back, I think they'll ease him back in.
I think the same thing. I think you know what you have with Noah Johnson. He's a guy that's done it. He's proven it. Senior. I think you know what you have, but you have a great insurance policy in Felix Harper.
Yeah, insurance policy. You're right. Wow, what an insurance policy. 6 touchdown passes, no interception. Against Alabama State today, so you feel like I do, Alcorn will win this football game today.
Yes. I think it'll be close in the early going. But I think Alcorn pull away. I think, for you to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And Alcorn hasn't been beaten in the East a lot. Their last Eastern Division loss was to Alabama State almost a year to the date. But I think Alcorn's looking for revenge, and I like them to get the win today.
Mm-hmm. Jackson State, do they mentally come back and they're strong today against a Grambling State team that has not won the game? This should be an interesting game. Will Jackson State come back from just a disgusting loss, and will they mentally be ready and physically be ready to say that was just a fluke that happened last week? How do you see this ball game going?
I mean, this is a must-win for both of these teams. And I know that the game doesn't count in the conference standing, but you don't want to get in the position where you're struggling to get W's, and you don't want to get in a position where you've lost so much in the early going that your football team is mentally checked out. So I think if you're Jackson State, you better recover today, because the road does not get any easier starting next week.
No, that's right, a non-conference game for Jackson State and Grambling. Wow. Jackson State, after this, then it'll be strictly conference game. Wow. That's another topic for another show. A conference game by 2 conference members, but it's non-conference. Okay. Let's switch now over to the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Same story, North Carolina A&T and everybody else. Or will Bethune-Cookman have something to say about it when it's all said and done?
I think that in the MEAC, you got 4 teams who are legitimate. You got FAMU, who everybody expected FAMU to have a letdown going to Norfolk last week. And FAMU came out and pulled out a win. I think that you have Bethune-Cookman, who I think Bethune-Cookman may not be as good as what we initially thought. But what I'm learning with Bethune-Cookman will play up or down to the level of their opponent. You'll think that you have Bethune-Cookman figured out, and then they'll play someone they should just, completely just obliterate, and they'll play down to their level. I think Bethune-Cookman is another contender. FAMU, South Carolina State, that defense is going to keep South Carolina State in every game. So I think South Carolina State, FAMU, and Bethune-Cookman, I think those are the three teams that could possibly give A&T a run.
Yeah, just that quickly, I forgot about South Carolina State, Coach Pugh. Defense, Bulldogs, that's what they lay their hat on. And it'll be interesting, but North Carolina A&T is the favorite, and I still believe that's the way it is until someone can dethrone North Carolina A&T. Your top 5 poll in black college football.
So at the 5 spot, I actually have Bethune-Cookman. And the 4th spot, I'm going to have the Panthers of Prairie View A&M. And the 3 spot, I have the Alcorn State Braves. In the 2 spot, I have the Bulldogs from South Carolina State. And at number 1, I got the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
So Southern will have an opportunity to pull the upset next week. Will it be close on paper? Prairie View's probably going to come in a 10, 12-point favorite.
Here we go.
Shots have been fired.
Yeah, shots have been fired for sure. You know what? I'm going to fade out, man, but I knew you wasn't going to fight fair for the whole show. I knew it. Carry on, man. Carry on.
I'm going by the poll. Prairie View's in the poll. Southern's not. Prairie View has an outstanding offensive juggernaut.
Oh, my God.
And they can score with the best.
Spin it, sir. Spin it. You're doing a heck of a job spinning it. Go ahead. Carry on.
I don't know if Southern will be in this ball game next week. Well, you know I'm being facetious.
He put 100 on 10, ain't he?
The spin stops here. But it Brandon, it will be an outstanding game. It'll be contrasting styles. I told someone earlier, I think Southern's best defense could be their offense. Ball control, running the football. And your teams are still going to stack they're going to put 8 in the box. And it'll be Southern's opportunity to make an opponent pay for that. Now, the question is, can they do it consistently?
Good question.
That will be one of the keys. Just one.
Yep. Man, I agree. I think that defensively, if Southern University continues to improve on what you've been doing, I was very delighted by what I saw in the secondary last week. They moved a few pieces around, and there's some guys that set up on the defensive side of the football. But offensively, you just want to keep improving. You want to be a little bit more consistent in the pass game, which, that's coming around. But I think, if you're Southern, you just want to make sure that you're better on next Saturday night than you were a week ago at the Pine Bluff, and just keep improving. If you're Prairie View, you want to do the same. When we talk about Prairie View offensive juggernaut, I like what they're doing. Jalen Morton and that receiving core that he has. Also, what Jalen Morton is able to do with his feet has been impressive. And then the Warrior Tucker, man, I am so impressed with this young man. And then what he's able to do. When they say size doesn't matter, he is what you think about. Not a guy that's big in stature, but his game is big. So it's going to be interesting down in Baton Rouge a week from today.
Yeah, and Coach Dooley coming back to where he got his start at coaching, for the bulk of it. He's going to be fired up. He's going to be low key about it. He's going to probably say it's just another game. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's important because it's the next game. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. But make no mistake about it, I will attack anything that moves. And that means literally coming off the bus. Not any, flagrant stuff, but you just got to mean business. And I think both teams will come in with that attitude. So it'll be interesting. We'll have a lot to talk about next week as well. That will be a big game in the conference, because if you look at it, if Southern wins that ball game, they're 2-0 in the conference, and it will give Prairie View, albeit it's the other loss was in the Eastern Division, but it will give them 2 losses in conference play.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you some breathing room.
Yep. I mean, if this game is basically next week is for the right to sit at the one spot in the West, to have that spot for right now. No, it's a long season, but it's what my granddad called, it puts you in the catbird seat, which is a place that you want to be. So I think that this game is important for that.
Yeah, I would agree. Kind of equivalent to today's game, Alabama State and Alcorn. Alcorn has a chance to go to 3-0, and then the catbird seat, they've got breathing room.
Yep, same exact scenario is going to play out down here in Montgomery today. The winner, takes over the one spot, and the loser is not out of it, but the winner controls his own destiny.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, anything in your closing that you want to add?
And the biggest thing is, man, we're about to have a few weeks of HBCU football that are going to be amazing. Started this week, next week, Southern, Prairie View, and then even the week after, I'll be back in Tallahassee the week after to watch the Aggies take on the Rattlers down in Tallahassee. Man, these next couple of weeks, man, we always talk about wait on the football season. If you blink, it's gone. I challenge everyone who is listening, man, make sure that you savor these next couple of weeks, because these are the weeks that we're going to be talking about going into the off season and then waiting for the 2020 season.
The cream shall rise to the top. It'll be separation. A little bit. Unbelievable. Yeah, you got to be excited. So next few weeks we'll tell a story. Can Grambling State get their first victory? Can Alcorn put a strangle on the Eastern Division? Next week's ball game between Prairie View and Southern University. The winner of that game gets a leg up and a half. Yeah, it's going to be outstanding. Improvement. BJ, safe in your travels. Godspeed, and we will talk with you from that place, Tallahassee, next week. Unbelievable. Oh, that's another one. I can't take too much of those orange and green colors. My goodness.
Well, next week I'll be in Baton Rouge. I'll be home.
I'm sorry, in 2 weeks. Oh,
2 weeks I'll be in Tallahassee.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the BR next week. Hopefully it'll be a hopping crowd.
Definitely hope so.
Well, you take care. Baton Rouge next week. Godspeed. Tallahassee the week after that. How about that? Have a good one, BJ.
All right, have a good one, Carlos, man.
All right, Brandon BJ Jones of HBCU Game Day. We're about at the end of today's show. Trying to see if there are any more comments that I can read to you, and that may be all. We had some interesting conversation between about the topic LSU and Southern in football. Southern defeated UAPV last week, 31-7. Want to thank Coach Carlos Fuentes, Southern women's basketball coach, for joining me. Also, Charles Edmond and Brandon B.J. Jones and the good doctor, Brother Michael Prince. Howard University investigating their football coach. Wow. Abuse and harassment. That is something we'll keep an eye on to see how all of that turns out. I've got 1 minute before the close, and Dr. Prince, we're all right.
Oh, man, we're
right?
good. We're good, baby. We're good. You know, Monday morning is game time.
Yeah. Somebody did say, a listener asked, did we have a wager? No, we don't have a wager. It's just the winner will get to talk. The loser will be pissed off. That's the way I look at it. Oh boy.
Yes, sir.
And I don't like to lose, but I lose graciously, and when I win, hopefully I'm the same way. But we shall see.
We shall see, my friend. You know what? And I think it's been a heck of a week. It's going to be even greater week intensity. The Panther pride, the Jag pride floating around the airwaves, and I think it's good for sports. I think it's good for our colleges. It's good for our communities, and I can't wait, man. I really can't wait. I wish I had a couple plays of eligibility left.
Well, I'm not going to wish for that. Those days are gone for me. But inspirational talk before the game in the locker room, furniture flying, whatever, just inspiration. Give me that old time talk. It shouldn't be that much talking that needs to be had.
No.
You just come out, and hopefully the game lives up to the hype and the atmosphere.
Well, I'm hoping so as well. And in all fairness, I want a hard play game, and I don't want any injuries on either side of the ball.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure in the prayer before the game, that's what the minister will say. It won't be like the time I was at the Southern Bethune-Cookman. He said the prayer about no injuries and all that, and then I've never seen it before, and it's probably happened before, but then he said he asked the Creator for a special favor that Bethune-Cookman would come out victorious. And it was a long prayer because I was getting a cramp in my neck. Everybody just looked up and they were like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't just say that. Yes, he did. Oh, I tell you, that brother, I tell you. On that note, that's a true story. Southern fans, if you were there, that was in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, my God.
Well, I've never seen that before.
You actually brought back to mind. I know we're running over, but I got to share this story. But there was a young minister, and he was praying. I mean, and he got the folk worked up. And, it was, amen, oh, Lord. And he got to praying against Satan. And he said, Satan, you low down MF. And he actually said MF.
Pull your card, man. Come on. Wow. I guess the emotion got to him.
The emotions got to him, man. And it's just like the emotions going to be running wild this week coming up. But I tell you this, man, I promise you this, I'm going to still love you as my brother. Rain, sleet, snow, or shine. And
yes, sir.
With the last man stand, we're gonna have our pride. We're gonna say what we need to say this week. And when the week is over with, I hope I get the one that reminds you of the final score for the next 365.
I want no hard feelings after this.
Well, remember the movie Harlem Nights? He said, "Don't take this personal."
Yeah, well, you know what? I've seen people get so emotional after a game. You know, they're mean to the wife or the husband. They smack the pet. Nah, you shouldn't do that.
No.
Somebody will feel the wrath.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it'll be on the verbal situation. But it just depends. If it's hard fought and you lose at the end, what can you say? You giving your best?
There you go.
That's it. And that's what you hope for. Well, until next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, I bid you all goodbye and peace and God bless.